It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is Expresso. You're live at S3 and with South Africans having faced the agony. Shoot, give me a moment. It's like you want to have a moment of silence of another record high fuel price hike that was just last week. It's only a matter of time before rising energy bills and price hikes at the supermarket follow. Dun, dun, dun.
And I think we all feel the need to make our money stretch a little bit further in these very tough economic times, and that's exactly what we'll be discussing today. We've brought in the experts. We've got our panel featuring parenting and lifestyle blogger Nolene Miller, as well as financial advisor at Advice Works, Peter Common. And what are you guys doing at home to save on petrol lately? Because I think every one of us has been affected. What have you had to cut maybe out of your daily budget because of soaring petrol prices? We'd love to hear from you. This is a safe place, as I said. You can vent. Please keep it child-friendly. Save those WhatsApp notes and send them through to 063 408 8863.
There we go. Here we go. It's a very heavy weighted one. But both of you are smiling, which is great. I'm glad we can take this on with a smile.
Is it a nervous smile because you've got to go and fill up your tank now when you leave here? You're worried about making it home? I mean, this is serious business.
It is indeed.
I've just flown back from Europe, and it feels like the European travel industry has just crashed. And I've been asking everyone what's going on. No one can put their finger on it, but fuel has got to be playing a part. I don't think there is a sector, a person who hasn't been affected. What is the effect on the consumer right now? Why are we experiencing what we're experiencing?
I know.
Is there an answer?
I feel like there's not. You know what, Peter, I want to start with you. I mean, just on a financial sort of aspect of it, I think a lot of people don't understand how it trickles down, the pandemic, the bounce-on effect, and then, of course, Ukraine and the war there. So, just in your experience, what are some of those confounding factors as to why it's just hit us so hard?
Yeah, thank you. So, just to give you some context or put it into a story.
Yeah.
If we had to go back a few years, many of us Cape Townians, when we had the drought.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before the drought, water cost us not really much. We didn't really take note, and all of a sudden we were hit with day zero.
Yeah.
And I found that going to the shop, buying water and stocking up, it started off with, it didn't cost much more, and all of a sudden the cost of water increased, and all of a sudden there was such a demand for water, I couldn't buy enough water in the shop, and the price just seemed to escalate. And for me, that was a perfect example. Water didn't cost much. All of a sudden, it cost 30% more.
Yeah.
And then once we had the rains, it subsided, and the price of water went back to normal.
Yes.
That sort of sums it up for me.
So can we expect then the price of petrol to come back down once we've weathered the storm?
That is an interesting question.
I love how Peter looked at us and didn't want to answer.
Yeah, but it is. But I think the whole world is scratching their head at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is affecting, yes, big business, airlines all over the world, the consumer, the mama trying to run a household.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
What are the pressure points for you in your little ecosystem? Because you obviously in a space where other mothers, other households are looking to you for guidance. What's been the biggest pinch for you with rising prices? Not just the petrol tank, but I'm sure it's affected you in other ways.
So as a middle-income household, I think the biggest hurdle for us is currently just to make our budget balance in order to either have money left over at the end of each month or to break even. And the past couple of months has been quite challenging to avoid going into a negative with your budget.
Yeah.
And then to dip into either your reserve fund that we have, a monthly reserve fund, or to use your credit card. And considering my husband and I both work in the education sector, and we didn't have much of a salary increase since 2020. So comparing our income with the rise in inflation and fluctuating expenses, it's quite a challenge to balance your budget. But we're making it work. We're making it work.
There's the
so
positivity.
that is the biggest hurdle.
Well, because you have to.
At the
I
moment.
mean, we don't have a choice. We've got to get through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to avoid buying cooking oil. Anyway, Peter, I want you to give me some good news. Is there any way that this petrol price could stabilize? Is there any way that we could see something, a little bit of hope on the horizon? Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm looking for positivity here. Please help us. With the financial mind that you have, is this going to stabilize?
In a nutshell, I don't have the answer.
Okay.
But the good news is we've got many economists in the country.
Yes.
And we look to them, and they are in tune with what's going on, not only in South Africa, but globally.
Yeah.
So they tend to look into the future, and they point out certain things. For me personally, I feel that, again, I often say to my friends and those around me that these things, they too shall pass.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's weathering the storm. It's taking care of the budget, as Nolene said. But again, knowing that, things will. It's just a matter of we don't know when, but it will. There will be stability on the horizon.
I suppose at times like these, we look above. We look to those that should be supporting us. We look to bigger industries to say, well, surely there's some kind of measure of protection for ourselves in this. We look to government to ease the burden. Is there enough being done to help the household right now? When you talk about that disparity between where our payment is and our increase in salary and where inflation is another, these costs, these additional costs and it's been that trajectory has been pretty fast.
Yeah.
Is enough being done to help the South African household, do you think?
Look, globally, consumers has been feeling the effect. So it's not just South Africans. It's been a global stitch, I think, to make it work. And it's been aggravated, obviously, by the Russia-Ukraine war. But in South Africa, I feel that there needs to be a price cap on essential products. I mean, if they don't want to extend the subsidy, reducing that subsidy on the fuel levy, then at least have a price cap on essential products to help lower income and middle income consumers.
I feel like you should be saying that straight to camera.
Yeah, you should actually.
Straight to whichever politicians are watching. No, 100%. I think there are so many questions. It feels like a dynamic situation, but the bottom line is we're all being stretched. So what are we doing this morning? We're stretching out that budget on a shoestring if we have to. This amazing panel of experts is not going anywhere. Going to continue the discussion. Keep those voice notes coming. How are you dealing with the price of petrol right now? You can give us a shout. Those WhatsApp line voice notes can be sent to 063 408 8863. We'd love to hear from you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
All right, we all feel the need to make our money go further in these tough economic times. In fact, we have to do it. There's no way around it, and that's what we are discussing today. Our panel of experts features parenting and lifestyle blogger Nolene Miller, as well as financial advisor at AdviceWorks, who I'm not hoping is not going to charge me by the hour, Peter Common, and we are asking you guys, what did you have to cut because of soaring petrol prices? Because everyone's had to lose something, and we put it to our WhatsApp line.
Indeed. In fact, we actually have a voice note now, in fact. It's fantastic. So if you want to send one through, please feel free, 063 408 8863. Here's the first one from Joburg. Let's take a listen.
Good morning, Expresso show. Yes, the petrol prices, it's a shock. Everything going up, and you can't even survive, You have to eat my pap and borscht. I look at all the prices, and the meat went up. I tell you don't know what to eat. Yes, I'll pray it will go down.
Yeah, that's what we're resorting to now, is praying. That's all we can do, is we can pray. Juanita from down in Cape Town had this to say. Let's take a listen.
Good morning, Expresso team. I've had to cut my trips down the Woolworths luxury aisle short. But that's okay because I'm losing weight.
Okay, that is something that we actually need to point out, is that we have to spin this thing in the way that is going to be good for our mental health.
It's the anxiety diet. I've spoken about it for the last 3 years. How did I cut for the wedding? Anxiety, baby. Thank you so much, Jeanette and Juanita, for those lighter side kind of comments there. I absolutely love that. Peter, I'm going to take the middle class question to you now. Nolene was talking about middle income families being really badly affected by this, and you kind of think that you've done enough, you've got your plans, you've maybe got your reserve funds, but why are the middle class being so heavily affected, almost most affected by this? Because the rich don't seem to be taking the knock.
Yeah, so your middle class, that is the family that is busy building a lifestyle. So they are buying homes, they're looking at vehicles, they go to the mall on the weekend. That's the family that is the consumer, that's where the spending comes from. And so now what we're finding now is that the debt, the money that they owe, that they're busy repaying, all of a sudden those installments are becoming more. And so there's less fat in the system for them in terms of their disposable income. And now what happens is they're not going for that meal in the week anymore. They maybe not visiting the mall like they used to. And so now what we're seeing is less spending. And so therefore the bigger part of South Africans who earn that income, all of a sudden that income isn't there. And that's a problem for our economy.
To stimulate that spending, but how do you stimulate that when no one's got any money to spend?
And how do you stimulate it when there's so many expense traps all over? Now, the way I see an expense trap is, there's something that you throw into your trolley, especially when you're shopping for the family, and you just throw it in because it's essential, it's on your list. But sometimes these become traps, given the fact that they increase.
Can I put one on the table? Wipes, definitely, baby wipes, yeah.
And they shoot up in price. And when you throw something in a trolley, then you look at the price and you look again, and you're like, hey. That's the traps that I'm talking about. So in your experience, shopping for the family, what have been some of your expense traps and some of those other things to look out for that perhaps you have had that big shock with while going down the aisles at the supermarket?
Look, especially when you raise kids,
Yeah.
I think that the trap that parents always fall into is that they tend to overspend on their kids more than what they see to their own needs. And there's nothing wrong in spoiling your kids so now and then, but you need to be mindful that you don't do it on a continuous basis because that sets a precedent. And no doubt, raising kids, taking them with to the shops, it's expensive, Even more so in my situation, I've got teenagers. It's even more expensive. So the education is more.
Yes.
They eat more. They use more electricity. They're now into this where they have a better social life than what we do. They have hobbies. They have hobbies. They have extracurricular activities. They want data. They need clothing. So and also bearing in mind that they're not contributing to the household income. Yes. So for parents, especially, sometimes those expenses are carried solely by either a single income parent or, in our case, dual income parents.
Yes.
And I think it's very important to teach your kids how the household income budget works or the household budget works. And also the financial situation that you're in. Make them aware of it, Also, they need to know that why are you cutting expenses? Why can't they have certain things? They need to differentiate between luxuries and necessities, And I think that by making them aware of that, you are kind of managing the expectations. And I think that for us, we kind of curb that sense of entitlement. Do you want it because it's nice to have or because your friends has it? Or is it something that you really need? And I think for parents falling into that trap by just giving and spending all the time, what are you teaching your kids? At the end of the day, they don't see the value in money. You need to make them aware that things cost and it's got a ripple effect on everybody in the family.
Ultimately, they learn from what they see as much as from what they hear. Get a job is what I say. Get those teenage kids out the house, do a paper route. Isn't that what it's about?
That's what we used to do when we were growing up.
Exactly, man. I think a lot of this stems from maintaining, though, that quality of life for our kids. And it's amazing, I think, what parents will endure on behalf of their kids. We're going to talk about maintaining the standard of living in just a moment. Peter, you can wrap your head around this one. I'm sorry, we're throwing all the conundrums to you. But we'd love to keep those WhatsApp voice notes coming. Please give us a shout. 063408863. Vent a little bit this morning. Show the lighter side. What are you doing without because of the rising price of petrol and other cost hikes at the moment? We'd love to hear from you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is Expresso on S3. And in case you missed it, we have been chatting about that whole petrol price hike, the thing that's been happening to you in your fridges and in the supermarkets. The days of taking long, pleasant drives to clear our minds, unfortunately, they are numbered.
Nope.
Now, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, of course, has only pushed up the cost of fuel worldwide. Subsequently, everything else has become even more expensive. So what do we do now? We consult the experts, I suppose.
Yeah, we brought them in. Food still needs to be put on the
That's
table.
correct.
We still need to travel to work every day and beyond. The question is, how can we adapt our spending habits to cope with the increasingly difficult times? And we, of course, put it to you on our WhatsApp line, 063408883. I think I say the number differently every time.
But it's okay.
But that
We
is the
remember it.
number to use. And we're going to start with a voice note that came in before we connect with our panel once again. Jeronique from Cape Town had this to say.
Good morning. I am Jeronique from Cape Town, and the way that I save on fuel is by carpooling with one or two people that I work with. It is the only way that we are able to split our charge costs. Otherwise, it would be way too expensive for us to even get to work.
Brilliant. Carpool.
That's,
Good. Carpool.
it works every single time. And then Johannes from the Eastern Cape has this to say.
Good morning, Expresso family. I'm Johan, I stay in Yugi, and I was trying to build my own recording studio, but now with all the petrol prices going up, it's very difficult to build and control your money going in and out. So yeah, the petrol price is way too high.
Yeah. Sounds like on the verge of tears.
Yeah, but don't
Your
lose hope,
pain.
my friend, eh?
Nah,
It's gonna
you'll
happen.
get there, my friend. Geraldine from Cape Town also joined the conversation this morning.
Good morning, Feel Good Breakfast Show and the viewers. What I've done to cut down on my petrol price, I would do my planning more strategically when traveling. So in other words, if I know that I need to go into the northern suburbs to do various certain things that I need to sort out, I'll ensure that I can do more than one thing at the same time. So that helps with cutting down on the petrol price. That's just one measure.
Just moment to moment. It feels like, yeah, if I can survive today, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the vibe. Short term, long term. We used to have a long term plan. You can hear the frog in my
Yeah,
throat.
I could touch it.
The
Don't
tears
cry.
welling. Peter, I'm going to put this to you. Maybe we've been tempted, maybe we've been forced to dip into a retirement fund, a long-term investment. What's your take on that? Do we still need to be looking after that long-term picture, maybe even more so now? Or is this why we have those reserve funds to dip into when times hit like these? What is your kind of, and I know this is a dynamic question to ask, but how do you feel about dipping into the long-term reserves?
Yeah, most financial planners or advice givers would say no. And the reason behind that is, Nolene spoke earlier on about, for instance, having a reserve fund. So that's your emergency fund and that's your short-term investment. And that's normally a 1 to 3 year parking vehicle where money is placed so that we need that in the immediate short term. Then you've got your medium term, that can be an education plan. And then you've got the long term, which is the retirement vehicle. And each one has an element of risk. So if we were to tuck into, let's say, retirement savings, which has a long-term horizon and let's say is invested in high risk, and all of a sudden we're tucking into that, when markets are down, we would then be buying units at a lower price, and that would mean a bigger loss.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to do that. So there's a plan associated with each investment that the advisor and the client agrees to. And now we don't want to hurt the plan. And so the role of the advisor is to, again, remind the client, what is the plan, what is the goal, and what is the strategy, and let's stick to the strategy. So we go back to what was said earlier. It might be good to revisit the budget. It might be good to look at our debt situation. How can we change those areas so that, you know, over time, we will find that there might be more income that we can use.
So budgeting, planning, these are very, very important things. We have to do it now. There's no sort of, two ways about it anymore. So Nolene, when it comes to actually making this budget up, I think a lot of people who have never made a budget before may sit there thinking, okay, now how do I start this thing? So, I mean, how do you sort out your budget? Are there any tips you can give somebody empowering them to create a budget in their homes?
Look, I believe that a household can't run without a budget because it is the foundation of your financial planning.
Yes.
You need to know exactly what your income is. You need to know what your fixed expenses are, whether it's a mortgage, a car payment, whether it's insurance policies. Those are your fixed payment expenses. Then you need to know also what is your discretionary expenses. And then you also need to plan for unforeseen circumstances because believe me, when you have kids, when you run a household,
And they'll do it
every
just when
single
you
month
don't need them
there
to,
are
eh?
unforeseen circumstances creeping up. So you need to make provision for all those things. And I think as a family and a household, you need to be on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, my husband and I, we're very transparent when it comes to our finances. And I think in most divorce cases, financial infidelity plays a big role. You know, where you lie about your income or you're not open
just
about
don't
your
talk about it,
spending or things like that. And I think that being open about it and planning together, you work towards certain financial goals, whether it's short-term or long-term.
Yeah.
And get everybody on the same page because it affects everybody in the house. You know, if we just make impulsive decisions to spend money, but we don't discuss it, it's going to affect expenses for the kids. It's going to affect the down payment on the car, you know, because now we won't be able to meet certain of those expenses and payments, you know. So I think planning and discussing round table, it's very important.
And there's another component to that because let's be honest with ourselves here, money is emotional. And as much as we love to make it this black and white kind of, you know, ones and zeros, it's an emotion. When you talk about those financial goals, you attach an emotion to that that's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Yes.
That dream home is worth fighting for. That kid's education is worth fighting for. So talk about it so you can create that kind of, that goal to get to. Peter, I'm going to round off with you. One last curveball question for you, my friend, because this one is, it's not just for those who have a lot of money or don't have, it's for everybody. How can we use the little that we do have to make the most out of it? Yes, we know that we need to save, but what's your advice with your financial wherewithal? How do you feel people should be spending and approaching their money at the moment?
So basically, a number of years ago, government and the financial services industry introduced the tax-free savings. And that's a wonderful place to start. You can start from a very small amount per month. You're allowed up to 36,000 per year. And the beauty of the product is basically that whatever you put in, there's no tax. Whatever growth, there's no tax. And one day when you withdraw that money to use it for whatever the goal was, there's also no tax. So here we have something wonderful.
Yeah.
It has many benefits and it's open to everybody in the South African public.
That's great.
Step one. Hey, if I can survive today, I'm fine. That is the way to approach it, I think, from my perspective. Thank you so much for your voice notes. We've got one more to share with you. Ricky from Cape Town aired his views today.
Hi, good morning, Expresso team. This is Ricky, also known as the Urban Boer out in Cape Town. How I save on petrol costs is by growing my own food. So I grow my own food and obviously save money. Instead of going to shops to buy vegetables, I can just go to my yard and just harvest some beautiful fruit, vegetables.
Oh, the urban boer, maybe that's a sign of the times.
Yeah.
Maybe we've got to reframe what we think. It's not the collapse of the capitalist world, but maybe the emergence of something else that's going to mix in there. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much. I know we asked you probably impossible questions this morning because we all, at the moment, are looking up and scratching our heads, but we will get there and we will keep talking about it. So share your comments, your advice. Keep it on the light side as well. That's been appreciated by us. 063408863 is a WhatsApp line to use. We'd love to hear from you to our panel. Guys, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.